I think first and foremost, my agent had talked to Jason about me, and we're always looking to work with directors that we appreciate, and then this thing came up, and it just seems to make sense that Jason would meet somebody, I don't know, with my kind of primitive face, and and so he and I met, and we got along very, very well, and I just liked him, and then we had the idea of Kate. That was his idea, and then I loved that idea, and she was busy, so we ended up waiting, and I went off to work, and then Jason did young adult, and Kate went and did something else, and we waited a year and a half in order for all the elements to come together to be able to do this. So that was the process, but ultimately it was Jason, Kate, and the book. The book I liked very much. The book was very simple. It was very simply told, and yet you're interactive with it. It's something that you go, well, what would I do in that situation? Would that really happen? How have I felt that way chemically with somebody else? How did that turn out? You know what I mean? And that's always nice to be involved, interactively in a story. Gatlin immediately, first of all, I loved his manners. He was raised a lot like I was raised in California, in the country, and all that stuff. And I know people don't perceive California as being ranch country, but it is, the majority of it. And so, I liked him. I liked the way he held himself, and I liked his parents, and I know his dad, and so that was part of it. But this kid says everything through his eyes. He just has that thing. He's different even now than he was then. He's matured, he has a different voice, and so we got him right during a transitional time that was, I'm sure, very exposing for him. And he was like a walking raw nerve when he did this movie, and you can see it all over his face. I mean, there's not a false moment that kid plays, ever. And I think it makes the movie. We see the movie through his eyes, not Adele's and not Frank's, but it's through Henry's. I can't imagine anybody else but Jason directing this, yet I never would have picked Jason before this movie to direct this movie. Oh, this is the perfect Reitman piece, It just wouldn't come to mind ever, because you think Up in the Air and this and that. And yet if you look more deeply into it, he's brilliant at nuanced behavioral stories. He takes really severe stories and he accessibilizes them, and so I can't imagine, nor do I want to, anybody else directing this movie because of the way it turned out. I look at it and he said he knew where the gold was. He knew where to dig for the gold, what gold to use, when to polish it. You can't, there's never, I mean, at least in my understanding of things, how you ever explain love, I mean, that's basically impossible. You have an idea of how you want or you think your life should unfold, and then end up, and that always gets challenged, always. So why two people that are in need, or would they have lasted, or were they just desperate for love because they were both isolated, one emotionally and one physically, and all this stuff? That's what's great about a movie like this, is that you're constantly asking yourself these questions. What's the reality of this? Would this ever happen? Of course it would happen. I've seen much stranger happen.